Morning, everyone. Welcome to the 2023-24 preseason media coaches call for ECAC women's hockey. I'm Associate Commissioner Nick Serbinsky and joined today by Commissioner Doug Christensen, who will start us off with an opening statement about the league and his incoming tenure, and then we'll get going with all of our coaches representing all 12 teams in our league. Doug?
Thanks, Nick. Good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us. Obviously, yesterday was a historic day for women's hockey. Congrats to all of the PWHL players who were drafted and teams. Obviously, was extremely well done by the league. And, of course, kudos to Daniel Marmer and Gina Kingsbury, general managers who were ECAC alums picking for their squads. For us, it was obviously a fantastic day. We had 29 players selected. We had 9 individual schools have players either signed or drafted. So from an individual point of view, that's fantastic for our league. And obviously, it shows the depth of our league and as well as how many great players there are in our league. With that, that obviously turns to this year. And you look at 5 of the top 10 players or top 10 teams in the country in our league. We're thrilled to see that. That obviously, again, shows the depth in 6 of the top 15. Last year, the ECAC had 4 of the teams in the NCAA tournament. That's a fantastic number. It's something that we look to continue and grow and hopefully have our teams advance the Frozen Four and win national championships as we've done 3 of the last 10 years. One of the things that we've done so far this year, we had a fantastic women's coaches meeting in Troy, New York. We were able to discuss everything from our championships to branding to really building on the momentum of hockey. It was a fantastic opportunity for me to listen and to learn. And it was something that we were able to get some strong action items out of. And so for us in the leadership in our league, we felt as though that was really productive. And hopefully we were able to give some information to our coaches that was beneficial to them. Biggest thing for me is I want to continue to grow and to build on the momentum of women's hockey and then by extension, the excellent play that's in our league. And I think that you'll look at it week in and week out. You see some of the top teams in the country, and we want to support those teams. And we obviously want to try to amplify the success of individual players as well. So I'm more than happy to take any questions, but we feel this is going to be a fantastic season. And we're just grateful that you're all here joining us this morning. And we look forward to connecting with you over the course of the year and helping to answer your questions, not just today, but throughout the season.
Thanks, Doug. Ken, go ahead.
Doug, obviously it's a new era for the women's league. All 12 teams are making the playoffs. I mean, how important is that to finally get to this point where it's the same as the men?
Well, you know, I was one of the players who actually, when I played in the league, where I was able to play in playoff hockey because the playoffs was expanded. And so I think that that allows for player development. You know, one of the things that can happen that if you get into if you're fighting for your playoff life, you might be in a situation where you're playing older players, might not playing the players to develop them as much. This allows younger players to grow and to develop over the course of the season, which I think is very important, not just from a team point of view, but from an individual point of view and for attracting high-end players to our league. I think that is a good thing. And I also like the opportunities for players to be able to be rewarded regardless of where they are with the opportunity to play in playoffs. And we've all enjoyed the craziness of March and regardless of the sport. And so those upsets are part of what make hockey great. So it's fun to see some of those Cinderella runs that come together.
Coach Mel Ruzzi from Brown University up there in Providence. Coach, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
As we get into the season and we take a look at what was an incredible day for women's hockey and for hockey in general for the PWHL draft yesterday, Doug came on earlier and talked about the growth of our league and the growth of the game. And you know, if you could just give a few words on that growth overall as a former player and now a coach, and then get into your group.
It really is incredible. It's like household names were called yesterday for however many rounds. I think it was like 80 players were drafted yesterday, and that's amazing. And I really mean it. Household names. I think women's hockey has now been on TV a number of times in world championships and Olympics, and I think that's really, really cool for young girls coming up to see that they've seen this name over and over again, and they're excited and cheering for who's going to end up in their hometown, and it's awesome.
And if you could take that momentum and turn it into, your own program side, and as you continue to build with the young talent that you have over the last few years, what is the most exciting part for you heading into this new season?
Yeah, I mean, I think growth is sort of the name of the game for us here at Brown, and taking steps forward. And we've done that in multiple ways. We've done that in just developing our athletes. I'm watching players who are now seniors who have grown their game and improved in all different areas, their IQ, the way they play the game, their speed, and then influx of talent in young players. Last year's first years were our leading scorers. They're leading in many ways, having a rookie of the year for the league. And then 8 new players again this year, one of which is a transfer, but the other 7 are true freshmen that even these first couple of weeks of preseason have shown in big ways in their skill sets. And that's the game, right? Like any of us coaches will tell you that talent is increasing. The women's game is growing in so many ways.
And you spoke about your team and having so much talent last year. And if you look at, how your seasons have gone, it seems that you continue to get stronger as the year goes on, right? And it's become kind of known that you don't want to play Brown, especially at the end of the year. Going into this year, knowing that there will be postseason play at the end of the season, does your mentality change at all of, now we know what's coming at the end of the regular season, or is it still we just want to keep building? And how do you kind of keep your expectations where you want them, knowing that the postseason is going to be there?
The mentality changes because our expectations are higher, right? I think if you talk to our players, they'll tell you they're disappointed that not everyone got in last year. We missed out on playoffs by the skin of our teeth. And so I think from our standpoint, one of our goals is to host a first-round playoff series. The expectations are high because there's a belief factor here. Everyone in this league is good. I just got done talking to the players yesterday about everyone's training, everyone's eating right, everyone's taking care of their bodies, everyone's ready and ramped up for this season. And so I think it's great that we have expectations that are really, really high, that our standards are high, because we do want to climb up the rankings.
Ken, anything for Mel?
Too easy.
I'm good. I'm sorry. I'm good. Thanks.
That just means I ask good questions. Another one for you, Mel, is talking about the international side a little bit. And Jada Ginla had the experience this summer skating with Team Canada. How important is it on your end as a coach, not only at Brown, but in our league, to see the continued international success that the league has had at both Team Canada, United States, and then so many other countries that are now being touched by the women's game?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jade brings attention to Brown. Anytime you can have a player playing internationally, playing for their country, that amplifies what you're doing with your program. Jade had mentioned to me going into the summer, finally 18 years old and stronger, and she complimented our strength coach and feeling more prepared. Excuse me. So I think it's really important to have people in an international game.
All right, and we do have Greg Fargo on. Greg, thanks for adjusting and finding a way to get on this morning. He's on via phone, so I feel like I'm hosting a sports talk show. Greg in the car from Colgate.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
Good, Greg. Thanks for jumping on. How are you?
Of course. Yeah, thanks for the flexibility, everybody. I appreciate it. Had a little schedule change at the last minute this morning, so thanks for being flexible.
No worries, not at all. So, Greg, big season for you last year. Obviously, I mean, the last 3 years, 3-time defending ECAC tournament champs. And usually at some point when you have 3 championships in a row, you're going to lose some players. You have found a way not to do that this year and bring back relatively everyone, as has been the word around the town. So getting the 4th ranking in the national poll in the USCHO, unanimous vote from your coaches, your peers in the ECAC as the #1 team in the league heading into the season. What does that mean to you on those numbers, or is it more of just business as usual and let's keep going?
Yeah, I think there was probably a time where those preseason rankings and the preseason polls probably meant more and felt like pressure for our players and our team. I think where we're at now is just become a little bit more of our expectation, and frankly I think that is a testament to the people that are in our program today, and the types of people, and the reason that they choose Colgate is they come here because they want to compete for championships, and so I don't think it is something that anybody overthinks or puts too much stock into. They are what they are. They're other people's opinion in this moment of time, and I think being in the top 4 is great, but I think we have a group here that wants to be number 1 at the end of the season, when it matters most, and so really our focus has been on that and just continuing to take every day one step at a time and keep getting better, even in these first 3 weeks of our season, and we'll continue to have that mindset, I think, throughout the year, no matter the ups and downs that we go through.
And as a coach, have you ever had a group with this much experience coming back? Does it make your job easier at all to know that the culture's set, the expectations are set, and they have their mission?
Yeah, I think in some ways it does, Nick. I mean, anytime you can bring 4 players back for a 5th year, I've been joking with them and with others that, I feel like they could coach our team this year, with everything that they've been through. Those 4 have won 3 championships in a row. And frankly, every other player on our roster doesn't know anything different other than winning the ECAC. And so I think there's not just with our 4 5th years, but everybody who's returning has had a whole lot of experience, playing in meaningful games at the end of the year. And I think what it does is it just makes it really clear, I think, for everybody to know how important what every game means, what every day that we get to be together means, and just the opportunity that we have in front of us. I don't think this is a group, given their experiences and both winning and then exiting the NCAA tournament earlier than they wanted to. I think they realize just how important each day is, and we'll lean into that experience as the year goes on, certainly. But it's a really focused group, to answer your question.
And the first big weekend of the season comes right up. Next weekend you get a scrimmage this weekend against St. Lawrence, and then you get 2 games at home against Ohio State, in arguably the biggest non-conference weekend all year for the league. I mean, it's massive to have 2 top 4 teams right off the bat. Is that something you like, to get those games right off the top, or would you prefer to have a couple games before you see that team come in?
Yeah, I think, I've been a big fan of kind of starting the season, against great competition, and we've done that, as you said, against Ohio. They're going to test us early on, and I think, for us, those games, that series, those types of games, I think they're not only measuring stick games, but I think more importantly, they teach you a lot about where you're at and what you need to do moving forward. It kind of helps you set somewhat of a roadmap out for the rest of the year, or at least the first half of the year. I think on both sides of that series, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be ugly parts of it early in the season, as there would against any team. But what a way to kind of test your mettle against, one of the best teams in the country. And it should be a great weekend of hockey. And I'm just really excited to see where our team's at early in the year. And then again, like what we need to do moving forward from that in order to be ready for a really tough ECAC slate and get ourselves ready, hopefully, for another run in the playoffs in the NCAA tournament.
I have one more from me, and then we'll open it up to see if anyone has questions out there for you. Yesterday was such a huge day for the sport with the PWHL draft, and you had a few alums get drafted, Jesse Eldridge and Olivia Zafudo. How important is it for your program and for the league to do so well on that stage? And then, secondarily, for the sport in general to have such an event that was such a high level, what does it mean going forward for the future of the game?
Yeah, we were all we were all watching very intentfully here in my office. I know the draft was on in our players lounge downstairs, and everyone was tuned into it. And it's just such an exciting time for women's hockey. I think our players now that are in our programs and have aspirations of continuing to play this game and have a career in it, have the opportunity to do so. So I think it's for them. It's being in a league like the ECAC, it's kind of a place where you have the best of both worlds, where you're going to get this unbelievable educational experience in the ECAC, no matter what school you go to, and also you're going to be really well prepared to continue your career if that's what you choose to do. And I just think it's great to see people like Jessie and Olivia Zaputo get drafted on that stage. Know what's next for them. I think it's an important moment for all those people that were drafted to know what's next, but also very importantly for players that are in our programs today and future players to know that the ECAC is such a great path to pro hockey and beyond. I think what's great now is they can go continue their career, and when it's time to hang up, they're going to have an outstanding degree in their back pocket from one of the best institutions in the country and be able to continue their lives in such a meaningful way and go on and do even bigger and better things once their careers do come to an end, hopefully many years down the road.
And just a reminder to everyone who jumped on, 9 players going to the New York PWHL team, which I'm sure is great for the Clarksons, the Colgates, Cornells, etc. of the world to have players going to that squad from the ECAC. 29 players drafted from the ECAC in the draft yesterday, and 5 more signed before the draft in the initial signing period. So a big day for the league and for the sport. Any questions for Greg before we let him go? I have one in the chat. Kat is having issues with audio. Just wanted to ask about your first year class and what you're bringing in.
Yeah, we have 6 first years coming in, plus a transfer, another new player for us, and I think it's been an exciting group. I mean, talked about how fortunate we are to have a lot of players coming back, but I think the depth of talent in that first year class is certainly going to help us immediately. Some very, very much immediately, and others, may take a little bit of time to kind of get up to speed. But I think, standouts for me immediately are, Emma Pice and Madeline Palumbo and Kaya Malachino, and Avery Pickering on the back end, and Sid Morrow, our transfer, I think are all players that are going to step in right away and make an immediate impact for us. And, we've been very fortunate to add them to an already deep team, and exciting to see how they can fit in with the group and help the cause overall.
Great. Kat, anything else? The chat works fine for me. I can do that there. Great. All right, Greg, thank you so much for your time, and we will see you in the season starting soon.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Thanks for joining, everybody. See you soon, Nick.
Thank you. All right, we are, and I let the record show you were early. We were early, so we weren't waiting for you for any reason. 10:35. I want everyone to make sure we're aware. So thank you for joining us and jumping on early. Kara Morey, head coach of Princeton, who was 15th in the USCHO preseason national poll that came out yesterday, as we await the USA Today, USA Hockey poll that comes out today. And in the preseason poll, Princeton was picked 7th in the league with Sarah Fillier on the all-league team. Kara, if you could start by just talking about what you have coming back this year and what you're looking forward to from your team this season.
Well, we have a lot of our veterans returning. We obviously graduated a pretty solid senior class, but we have Sarah back, we have Izzy back, and we actually have Sarah Paul coming back. She's been out for 2 seasons with injuries. And we basically have 8 new players coming in. So we don't really know what we're going to see yet. We're pretty excited about what we're seeing so far. We have a new first-year goalie who's looking really strong right now. So don't really know.
Sometimes that's a good thing, right? If you don't know because they're talented, it's probably not a bad thing to have. And looking at Sarah Fillier on the all-league team, she's just been someone who seemingly has been here forever, right? And just continues to make an impact on the league and on the international stage. How nice is it to have a player like that continue to be on the ice?
I mean, it's great. She's like one of the best players in the world. It's awesome having her back. She's excited. She was just at national camp all last week, so she was away, and you can tell when she's missing, and when she comes back, she brings great energy and a boatload of talent, and she's our captain and leader. So we're really excited to see what she does this year.
And you spoke about the international side briefly, but also yesterday being such a huge day in the sport with the PWHL draft and Maggie Connors being selected in that draft. So obviously some of it touching close to home with a player, from your program, but give us just your perspective as a former player on the overall landscape and what yesterday really meant to the sport.
It was really cool. Actually, we were watching it in our office and our players were watching it down in the video room. And obviously everybody was waiting for Maggie to get drafted, which was really cool. And the whole rink kind of erupted when her name was finally called. I felt like they did a really good job. It looks like it's going to be a real professional league. And I think that it's long overdue. I think this should have been probably 15 years ago in the making, but it's great to see it coming together now. I think it's going to be an awesome first season.
And 29 players, league alums being selected in the draft. Between that and the international numbers that have, just blown up over the last 10, 12 years for this league, what does it make recruiting easier? Because you can say, hey, look at all these things that happened to our league. We had a third of the players drafted came from our league. What does that do for you when you go out on the road and you have an ECAC mark on your shirt?
I mean, it's awesome. I think that we always talk about ECAC is the best league in college hockey. It's definitely the deepest. It's the hardest league to play in. You have a different opponent every single night, and anyone can win every single night you play. So it's like, I think the recruits coming in understand that, and they're like really excited about the way we develop our players, the way they move on after college, whether it be this new pro league or internationally, and just the grind of our season is like what gets them better. So again, toughest league in college hockey, best league in college hockey, and I think we're showing it with what they do after.
Great. Anyone have questions for Kara? Kat Cornetta, go ahead. If the audio doesn't work, you can send in the chat. I think she was having some microphone issues before, so she was typing out the questions, but all right. Well, if not, then I think we're all set, and I appreciate you. Oh, nope, she did just in time. Sorry. Kat Cornetta would like to ask Taylor Hyland and what she brings to the team and what you look forward from her this year.
Taylor had a great breakout season last year. I think she was all rookie goalie for the ECAC. And this year has come back ready to compete for the net. I think we have 3 really strong goalies. So right now our net is open to see who's going to rise up and take it between Uma, Taylor, and Jen. And they're all battling right now. So Taylor looks great, and we'll see after we get through some preseason stuff if one of them kind of emerges as a starter or if we do a lot of splitting the net this season. But we'll see after we get through preseason.
Great. Any other questions for Kara? Nope.
You're welcome.
You. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
All right. We'll see you soon. And we are joined a few minutes early by the new head coach of the Harvard Crimson, Laura Bellamy. Coach, thanks for jumping on and taking some time and also coming on a few minutes early for us. I think you're on mute though. First call problems. That's okay.
Thank you. It's like I've never been on Google Meet before.
How are you doing this morning?
Good, good.
Well, welcome to the league officially, your first preseason coaches call, and a lot of things exciting happening around the league and around the game of women's hockey. The first thing I want to ask you about as a former player is the PWHL draft that happened yesterday. And I know we'll get into your team and, you know, just everything about this season, but that's been the theme of a lot of what's been said the last day and a half. What was yesterday like for you as a former player and now a current coach, just to see the sport where it is?
Yeah, it was a great day for women's hockey, great moment for women's hockey. Just so exciting. It's still such a young sport, and that's a big step forward. Really cool to see how they did the draft. I thought it was really professional, and just excited to follow that league and, you know, see a lot of players who have either coached or come across over the years get drafted. Really exciting day for them, and yeah, looking forward to following along.
And looking forward for you for your first season at Harvard as a coach. Looking at the preseason poll, picked 8th, every team making the playoffs this year. How does that kind of change your, or what does that do to affect your mentality going into the season, knowing that really everyone has a chance at the end to be in that tournament, and you really just got to be your best at that stage? Does that give you a little sense of, okay, we can get to the point we want to be at?
Yeah, I think, you know, preseason polls are fun. Like they're great. But it doesn't necessarily change how we do things. And, you know, I think in terms of the league, everyone making the playoffs, I think that's a great step forward, great opportunity for all 12 teams. And for us, like the regular season is going to be about getting better every day, putting ourselves in the best position we can. You know, seeding is still important. That's what I like about it. You know, everybody's in, but you want to be as high as you can at the end of the year. So focus on, you know, just putting ourselves in a good spot, and then come playoff time, you know, I think can happen. That'll be fun. It's always fun in this league, but we'll just focus on getting ourselves in the best spot that we can.
And as you come into, you know, for you, a brand new roster and a brand new situation, what has the off season been like? How important has that time been for you to kind of get back into it and to figure out, you know, where you're headed with your team?
Yeah, it's been drinking from a fire hose, as they say. Maybe an overused cliche, but probably an accurate one. So yeah, I've been in Cambridge for 4 or 5 weeks. You know, just a lot to do, which is fun to move this program forward. And I think what's great about the spot that we're in and you know, just kind of the change for the program is that every player feels like a first-year player. So I've spent a little bit of time watching video, getting to know them a little bit, but honestly, I've tried not to do too much of that. We're figuring out on the ice, like what we have, where we're headed. I think that's exciting for our players, and it feels like everybody's a first year. You know, it's almost like we don't have juniors and seniors right now. So it's a good fresh feel, and yeah, just really looking forward to this season for our group.
And a few things to look forward to on the schedule this season, heading to the Washington, D.C. shootout with Minnesota, St. Thomas being in that Thanksgiving weekend event, and then also being able to host the first round of the Beanpot and heading to the TD Garden for the Beanpot for the first time for the women's side. What is that growth and events like that in D.C., and then having the women's Beanpot game be at the Garden? How does that, as a former player and someone who's seen the league grow and seen the sport grow, how great is that to be able to now be a part of it on the other side and say, yeah, we're playing at the TD Garden. It's the Beanpot.
Yeah, both of those are great highlights. So for DC, I was coached in that 2 years ago. Just a great event that the Washington group puts on. I think there's a lot of factors to that make it a great event. One is trying to, you know, popularize hockey in DC. 2 is getting our team on the road, and we probably have a lot of players who have never been to DC, so we'll be able to see that area. And then 3, to be able to play WCHA teams, you know, any out of league competition. It's important for us to put our best foot forward for the ECAC, and those will be great matchups. Then, you know, with TD Garden, I mean, what a great step forward. You know, it's very similar to talking about a women's hockey professional draft yesterday. Like, the sport is headed in the right direction. I think that's something we're really looking forward to. The Beanpot's already the best tournament in college hockey, so to get to have that second round there at TD is going to be, it'll be awesome. We'll have it circled for a long time here.
Any questions from the group for Laura? All right, we have 2 in the chat from Kat Cornetto. The first one, what does Meredith Roth, your new hire to your coaching staff, bring to your staff this year?
Yeah, we're super excited about Meredith. I think it's a great fit. She comes from Holy Cross, which is a great academic institution. And so just a great fit in that regard. Very well respected, great recruiter, is known to have really good relationships with players and kind of be a relationship driven coach, which is exactly what we want to do. And, we're really excited for her that she's part of the under 18 national staff this year, going to Switzerland of all places. Pretty cool to be going to Switzerland in January, and we'll be cheering her on. So, she brings a ton. She's a great player. She's had, been a Division III head coach, been a Division I associate head coach. She was at Shattuck. I mean, she really understands many aspects, many levels of women's hockey. So couldn't say enough about her, and really looking forward to this season with her with us.
And then the second question is, what are your thoughts about your goalie situation going into the season?
Yeah, so really excited we'll be hiring a third assistant coach who will be focused on our goalies. I think that's another great step forward and across hockey, but especially for us in women's hockey, to be able to have that be a paid position and no longer a volunteer is great. So for us, that's going to be a goalie coach, someone we're really excited about. Hopefully we'll get that announcement out soon. And our goalies that we have, I think we have a great group. Alex Polici, I'm pretty familiar with her, having played against her last season and logged a ton of minutes. And then I think we have 2 in Daisy Boynton and Emily Davidson, who are both, they're going to push her every single day. I think we want it to be a healthy competition and have them fight for the net every week. So feel really good about that. Feel like we have depth at that position, and we're gonna be built from the net out. So just love the experience that Alex brings, and then the competition in the group as a whole.
Great. Any other questions for Coach Bellamy? Ken, go ahead.
Or do you feel any pressure taking over for Katie since she was there such a long time?
I think, for me, I'm just focused on moving the program forward. I think pressure is a privilege in some ways. I think that to the extent that I feel pressure, it's because this program has had success for a very long time and is a well-known program throughout women's hockey. And I think it's expected to be at the top. And that's the expectation that I have too. But I think that's good pressure. And other than that, I think just for me, looking forward, trying to move this program in a positive direction every single day. And that kind of has to be my focus on the process every day, rather than looking out too far on results and things we want to do. I think it's having patience right now is important. And that's my focus.
Great. I think that's all for, for Coach Bellamy. Coach, you survived your first one.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
This season, we'll see you in a few weeks for Hacktoberfest.
Sounds good. Looking forward to it. See you guys. Thanks for coming on.
Just like I've said to everyone else, thanks for being a few minutes early for us. We appreciate it. And as we get going with our next piece, let me just bring up the poll so I don't misspeak. Quinnipiac selected 3rd in the preseason poll this season, and also in the top 10 in the USCHO preseason national poll as we await the USA Today, USA Hockey rendition that comes out later today. I know a lot of coaches say the polls don't matter, but the recognition must be nice to cut from your peers in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're part of such an amazing league, and to see so many teams in the top 15 in the country is awesome. And no doubt it's going to be an exciting year.
And as we get into the season and talk about your team, some key players returning, along with a host of new players coming in, just tell us a little bit about your roster, what you see coming out at Quinnipiac this season as you continue to build.
Yeah, we're excited. I think, we really thrive on a depth in our lineup and a depth in offense. And last year we had 9 players with 20 points or more. And of that, we're returning 7 of them this year. So we're excited to have that depth in our scoring, but have added some other pieces. Wonderful to have our entire senior class coming back for a 5th year. So 4 players in that, with with Sadie Peer, Alexa Hoskin, Jess Shriver, and Kate Riley. And then also adding into that, Logan Andrews is back for a 6th year, which is wonderful. And Julia Neris joining us as a grad student. So we have a very veteran lineup, and think that, with those players and then trickling in some other new ones like Emerson Jarvis up front, she can contribute a ton. And an incoming player, Caitlin LaMarche, who was a leading scorer in the U22 league in Ontario last year, and certainly will find the back of the net a ton this year.
And, being selected third in any league is great, but in a league that has 6 teams in the top 15 nationally, obviously adds a little more cachet. You talked about it last year a bunch, but what is it like playing in this league, going in every night and really every weekend seeing a ranked opponent?
I think for everyone, it makes us better. There are no weeks off. We know that every weekend, anything can happen in literally any game that we play. And I know our team feels that. It makes not just the weekends exciting, but practice exciting all week. It pushes players to play at their best, to get prepared. And, there's really nothing better. There's nothing better than ECAC hockey.
And speaking of ECAC hockey in a different light, saw your tweet from late last night after the PWHL draft, and every coach has talked about, what a great day it was for the sport and will continue to be. But more personally on your side, 7 players from the program selected in the draft. Just give your perspective on how cool that probably was from your program's perspective, and then on the global side, being a former player, and seeing the growth and where we are today.
Yeah, it's truly amazing. They did a phenomenal job with the draft. It was professional. You could tell that those players and everyone involved felt, the excitement. They were treated the way that they should be treated. And to see this league be in a position where, it can be sustained for many years, to help it to grow and get that following is exciting, because, there's a lot of effort that's been put into creating this. And I know Jana Hefford has been working tirelessly, and then to see, Billie Jean King and other groups get behind it. And, I think it's just amazing to have 7 of our Bobcats is the coolest thing. I think yesterday we were about to go on the ice for practice, and we were supposed to do video, and we just said, let's not do this. And we turned on the draft, and we were supposed to sit there for 10 minutes. We sat there for like 25 minutes watching the draft, and eventually got on the ice for practice. But for those girls to hear the chatter, to hear them talking about what this is about, and they're like, is there going to be a draft next year? And thinking and seeing that this could be their future. So, these are college players seeing that. Imagine the little girls out there. I left the rink last night for my daughter's hockey, and somebody said, can you imagine our girls may play in this someday? My daughter said no, but that's a whole other point. But, now they can see it, and it couldn't be more exciting for women's hockey, for women to make a livable wage and be able to compete at the absolute best. The hockey and the product is going to be awesome.
Yeah, it was exciting from the league perspective. 29 alums getting drafted in that draft, and 5 more signing before the draft. But obviously, congratulations on your end on the Quinnipiac side as well. And it looked like a little pipeline starting there with Danielle Marmer at the GM spot in Boston, and selecting a couple Bobcats, and maybe a little Boston Quinnipiac pipeline in the PWHL.
She did say, I wanted to pick them all. She texted me. It was funny.
Anyone, should we shift back towards this year's team? Anyone have questions for Cass out in the group? Cam Levasseur, go ahead.
Cass, pretty eerily similar results in the last 2 seasons in terms of where you started and where you ended. What do you think it's going to take for this team to really take that next jump and kind of go more towards a championship, both at the conference level and in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I think you're right. We finished similarly, but I think we played better hockey. You look at how we played at the end of the season last year. Our group was strong. We won 30 games. Our men won 34 last year, and they won a national championship. It's not to say it's just 4 more wins. That certainly is a big step. But, I think for our group beating Wisconsin last year and seeing them go on to win the national championship, it's feeling closer, and they know that there's more that they need to do. And they have been taught, our leadership group has been talking about it. They've been pushing one another through the summer, pushing each other in this preseason. They expect big things. It's going to take a lot of work to have the result be different than it's been, but they want it. And that is the best place for us to be, because now we get to guide and get behind them. But they know that they're only going to be as strong as they are connected. And that is where they're diving in right now is how well can they support one another and how connected can they be?
Cam, you have anything else?
Yeah, and I just wanted to ask about Julia Nearest. What do you like out of her?
Julia, she's trained so hard this summer. I'm excited to see where she's at right now. She's a phenomenal offensive hockey player. She was Boston University's leading scorer last year, and she is creative and patient with the puck. Like seeing her in practice, she just sees things in such a great light offensively. And so we're excited to add that into our lineup. I think she's certainly going to continue to add more points for this group.
Great. Anybody else for Cass? Kat Cornetta May. I know she has some microphone issues, Cass, so we're just going to give her a minute to type in the chat if she has one.
Sounds good.
Oh, she's all set. And Ken, are you all set as well?
Yes, I'm set. Thank you.
All right, Cass, that was an easy one. You hit everything before they had asked any questions. That's a professional.
Yeah, when you talk too much.
I know that all too well, don't I?
Just teasing. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Cass. Appreciate it. All right. So we will get started with Brian Vines, head coach of RPI. Coach, if you could start us off with just an opening statement about your team and what you expect from this season.
Yeah, I mean, I really like our group. It's probably the most veteran group we've had in my tenure here. We've got about 4 graduate students on the roster and a really, really big senior class. So I'm excited to kind of start this season the way we left off last season. I thought we were playing our best hockey down the stretch in January and February, and we're looking to grow from that to get the season started this weekend against RIT.
Ken Schott has a question. Ken, go ahead.
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. With all 12 teams making the playoffs this year, do you prepare this season any differently from past years?
No, I mean, we're focused on today, I think, at the end of the day, every day, and kind of what's in our control. But it's really exciting to have the opportunity to play playoff hockey and the development that comes from that. But that's really our goal every year is to be playing our best hockey, when we're solely in ECAC play down the stretch of January and February, and give ourselves the best chance to move along in the playoffs.
Ken, if you have others, you can go ahead.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay. Brian, looking at, speaking about ECAC play and heading down the stretch and what is a competitive league, what does it do for you as a coach and your team, knowing that seemingly every weekend you'll end up having a ranked opponent either on the road or in your barn?
Yeah, I mean, we just saw kind of these some of these preseason polls, and I think we have 5 teams from our league in the top 10 right from the start. So it's a challenge every weekend, and and every team in the league has just grown and gotten so much better every year that I've been a part of it. So it's a great way, to build our program as well. Playing against the best, and any given weekend it's going to be a battle.
And talking about the growth a little bit, on the non-conference side, you see teams on your schedule like Stonehill and Assumption that just as the women's game continues to evolve, and you see some of these new opponents come in, what does that do just for, whether it's the player pool or just the sport in general, as we now see the PWHL draft last night, and just kind of the general question of what, how great is the game right now and where we're headed?
It's unbelievable. I mean, with the draft and the attention around that and the free agent signings and everything else, I know our players are following it closely and really excited about the opportunity to play professional hockey when their college careers are over. Just in terms of the Stonehills and the other leagues, it's amazing, to see the sport continue to grow the way it is and more opportunities for women to play this great game. And anytime we can get, one of those schools on our schedule, we're going to do that to help to continue to grow the game.
And for your roster specifically, a pretty good mix of youth and experience, but bring back a few grad students, including Amanda Rampato and net. She's someone who seems to have been in the league for like 10 years, just not letting anybody score on her. What does a player like that do for your confidence as a coach and for your team from the back out?
Yeah, I mean, she's the heart and soul of our team, and it's more than just her performance on the ice. It's her leadership, around the rink and off the ice. And we've got 7 freshmen, joining us this year as well. So they've got a really great role model to look up to in terms of how you go about your business in college hockey. And she's one of the best in terms of preparation and just the things she does in our community and all those types of things. So. Really excited to have her back. Mara Wagner's coming back as well as a 5th year for us. So we retained both of our captains, which is really, really exciting, and we're excited for the upcoming season.
Great, Brian. We appreciate your time, and nice and easy one today for you. You can get back to the whiteboard and get back to the ice, and we'll see you in a few days for the opening weekend of the season.
Awesome, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too. All right, we're going to go right into Chris Wells from St. Lawrence. Wellsy, how are we doing?
How's everybody doing?
Not too bad. Thanks for joining us today. And we'll get started right off the top with just talking a little bit about your team, your program this season, and your expectations as you head into weekend number 1 this weekend.
I think the biggest thing is we're just trying to build off the way we finished last season. Felt like our last 10 games were the best of the year, and we were playing as well as anybody in our league, and the clock just kind of ran out on us down at Quinnipiac in game 3. In overtime. So we have a lot of players back that had great experience last year and had a lot of big impact on our team. So I feel like we'll be able to pick up a little bit where we left off, and then, sprinkle in a couple of transfers and some new players and kind of see where it starts to go here in October.
And obviously talk about some of the players coming back, and 2 of them being Julia Gosling, Christina Ball, who had just great seasons last year. What does the leadership that you have coming back into the locker room do to continue to push your program forward towards those expectations that you just spoke of?
Yeah, I think they've really worked hard on getting themselves prepared and being leaders of the team this year, both Julia being the captain and Christina being an alternate captain, along with Anna Seghetti and Abby Hustler. So that group certainly is going to be the group that leads us on and off the ice, and feel like the experiences that they had last year as leaders is going to be able to carry over to this year. Not often do you get to be a 2-time captain like Julia. So you get, so many times captains kind of say to themselves, boy, I wish I would have done this differently once they're done being captains after senior year. And I think Julia has the opportunity now to kind of reflect on some of the things last year that she learned and apply some of the things that she wants to this year as the captain.
In the preseason poll for the league, you were chosen 6th by your coaching peers, and being in a league with 6 teams in the top 15 of the USCHO poll, that's not a bad spot to be. You were receiving votes in that poll as we await the USA Today poll later this afternoon. I know the polls the coaches always say they don't mean too much, but in a year where everyone is going to be competing in the postseason tournament, that 6th spot is a pretty good spot to be in. So, what is your projection in terms of like, where do you want to be at the end of the year? Not in terms of the standings, but where do you want to be as a team as you head into what will definitely be a postseason?
Yeah, I think if we can be in the same mind frame and playing the way we were playing last year during the playoffs, and I think, historically our program's been able to do that towards the end of the year. We seem to be playing some of our best hockey at the end of January and the first part of February, and then hopefully into March. And as we started off, the hope is that we can pick up a little bit quicker from last year's success and the way we played to apply some of that success early on here in September. But everybody knows how tough this league is, and you can just see it in the polls. You can see it in the recruiting, and everybody knows who is coming in as freshmen, and the league's got another great recruiting class of freshmen to continue on the success for the league here over the next 4 years with this group as freshmen. So, and there's always a group of freshmen that make a huge impact in this league. So it's always fun to see the new players come in and do so well at such a young age, and then you know, sprinkle in all the transfers that'll be coming in and making an impact in this league. So we just want to be playing our best hockey at the end of the year, like always, and hopefully get a little bit more of a start of playing our best hockey before the end of the year.
And shifting gears slightly towards yesterday's PWHL draft, and you had 4 program alums get drafted yesterday, and including actually 3 in the same round, which was sort of an anomaly there, as they all got picked in one cluster of each other. But as a coach and as someone who's been with this program for a long time, how important was that for you, not only in the, you know, the recruiting world to be able to go and say we just had 4 pros get drafted, but just in the growth of the game to see where it's come and those players being able to get that opportunity?
Our lounge was filled yesterday and the TV was on. The entire team was pretty much watching the draft. So it was a great day for women's hockey, and I think everybody was quite excited, thinking of the possibilities for themselves as they were watching the TV and talking to everybody. And then the excitement, certainly when our players were drafted, was ramped up a little bit, especially, I mean, obviously loved coaching all 4 of those players, and you know, seeing Vespa drafted, I know that meant a ton for Vespi, and was really happy to see her drafted. Obviously, Kennedy and Hannah and Boo are going to be they've already been pros, and you know, I know Vespi's played a little bit, but the 3 of them have been pros, and they're going to do fantastic. But it was really special to see Vespi drafted.
And the last piece, starting this weekend, Saturday, it's an exhibition game, but you have Colgate coming in on your family weekend there up at St. Lawrence, and having a test like that, whether it's an exhibition or not, how nice is it to have teams like that in your league, that you can have these exhibitions and you know you'll be tested by a team that's, you know, 4th in the country?
Yeah, it certainly puts you a little bit ahead preparation wise. You know, playing the unanimous #1 team in the league, and certainly 3-time defending champion coming in. So it'll let everybody know where we're at in our locker room, things that we need to work on, things that we're doing well. You know, we did it down there last year. It was a great game. We didn't score. We had tons of chances. We had 2 great regular season games with them as well. They're always fun games against them up and down the ice. You know, Greg and his staff have done a great job with that program, the current team, and then certainly the players that are continuing to come in recruiting wise. So to be able to jump on the bus and make a day trip and play an exhibition game like this is really beneficial for both programs.
And the last piece on your schedule I wanted to hit on, you get a road trip coming up in November on Thanksgiving weekend, heading to Ohio State. As a coach, adding those games to your schedule, is it something that you try to wait to talk about until you're closer to it, or do you know they're circled and you're kind of in the back of your head that you're waiting for that game to get there?
Well, I think as a team, we talk about our schedule all the time. So that team, it's not something that you can't, you know, hide from the players. They know they're going to Ohio State at Thanksgiving, and I think that'll give not only our team but other teams in our league a good idea of where things are nationally. Obviously, Ohio State picked #2 in the country and 2 in the WCHA. They've had 2-3 seasons in a row where they've been one of them national champions, but the other 2 right in the thick of it. And you know, they picked up about 4 transfers after we scheduled the game, so they got significantly better after the game. So
you have to restructure that deal a little bit.
Again, they got significantly better, which is great. It's going to be a great road trip. You know, with us not being in school, that allows us to get out there. It's Thanksgiving time for the players to relax a little bit without school and to be able to go out on Thanksgiving weekend. It's going to be a fun weekend to go out there and see where we're at.
Ken, anything for Chris?
I think the biggest loss for you, Wellesley, is no more Cap Carey in retirement. What's that going to be like without him around?
Well, I'm hoping Cap kind of tunes in and maybe sends a couple of informal interviews. Cap actually lived right across the street from my sister up here, and I used to snow blow him out after big snowstorms. So it's probably going to save my back a little bit because his driveway was a complete mess to try to blow out. But I knew he'd always appreciate it and want to make sure to take care of the press. So I was able to get the snowblower over there. But I will say, I will miss Cap. I will not miss snow blowing his driveway.
That's grade A media relations there, Wellesley, huh?
That's right. Yeah. With a quick knock on the window and a wave from him every time I kind of did it. One time he came out to the stoop of the steps and said thank you. So I think that was as close as he got to shoveling it. But, yeah.
Well, I expected nothing less from the end of this session. Wellesley, we appreciate it.
You got it.
See you this weekend as you take on Colgate in exhibition action.
All right. See you guys. Thanks.
See you.
All right, moving on from Coach Wells over at St. Lawrence and now joined up at Schenectady at Union. Josh, thanks for jumping on this morning and taking some time to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Nick. Anna, good to see you guys. Appreciate it.
So, Coach, getting right into this season for you, heading into a big weekend at St. Cloud State right off the bat, putting your team to the test early, what does that do for you to kind of set your expectations and know where you're at going into the year?
Yeah, it's going to be a really big test for our group. I think, seeing a team that I think is ranked number 13 in the country, having a big year, having the coach of the year in that program, I think is going to be a really good test. We've got a couple players from Minnesota that I know are excited to get home, have their families there. We should have a good crowd there from our family's perspective. So we're really excited. We really like the group that we have right now. The culture of the team, I think, is really strong. But I think coming back after this weekend will be a good test to kind of see where we're at. And what we need to work on going into league play later on in the year.
And looking at your roster a little bit, you have some youth coming in and some returning players, the older returning players like Emily King, Marin Friday, but then a player like Riley Walsh, who was a first year last year and kind of took the league by storm a bit. She had, I think it was 3 overtime game winners in like a 2-week span, which was just incredible. But what does that do, that mix of experience and youth, to be able to put you in a spot where your expectations are realistic?
Yeah, we're at a really fun time at Union right now, right? I think we're going into a scholarship era, right? We're starting the first year of scholarships right now in our first year class, and we're coming back with a group that I think is extremely motivated to make some noise in terms of our league. And, I think when we see those preseason standings, it's instant motivation for us, right? We want to continue to improve. We want to showcase the fact that, we're not a 12th place team. We're a team that can compete within our league and find ways to develop that tradition that we want. So, we love what's coming back. We return a lot of players. We add some really talented first-year players that we feel like are going to help in different parts of our lineup. So for us, I mean, we're at a really good spot. And I think with the way the culture is in terms of our group, in terms of the things that we want to do to help our team play the way we want to play, I think we're ready to compete against just about everybody that we play.
And in terms of competition this year in the league, obviously it's a guaranteed postseason opportunity. So what does that do for you as you approach the end of the year, no matter where the season starts and where you go, knowing that we're building up to this point to have a chance to compete for a championship?
Well, I think just in general, I think first of all, for our league and for the growth of our game, I think having every team be able to be in the playoffs, just like the men's side, is fantastic for our sport. I think, to be able to play that extra weekend and to be challenging to be in that game on March 9th for a championship is something that every team and every coaching staff, every player wants to be able to be part of, right? So for us, it just continues to motivate our group, right? We're playing for a championship on day one. You're in the playoffs. We want to continue to peak and be good once playoffs roll around. So for us, it just adds that extra motivation. For us, we know that first round there is probably going to be a 1-game playoff. We want to be prepared for that. And we want to finish as high as we can in the standings and continue to position ourselves to, again, be in that game on March 9th. That's our goal. And we're going to continue to set lofty goals, but that's what we want to do here.
And, I just keep thinking of different ways to ask the same questions to everyone because it's such a big moment. But the PWHL draft yesterday, you talk about some of your players that are, first year with scholarship players for you, right? First year that the players can look at it and say there's a full pro league with a draft, that look at the event we had yesterday, just the time that you're in as a coach in this game, how important is it for you to be able to continue to have an impact and also to see the opportunities for your players to continue to grow?
Yeah, the coolest thing about this is just when you now have conversations with women, they can say, hey, what do you want to do? And I think that the beauty about being at Union is you kind of have two different arenas. You have an education that's going to set you up to be a very articulate, well-balanced, confident young woman when you leave here. But I also think now we have an opportunity to play pro hockey as well. And I think that's something when you ask an athlete and they say, hey, I want to play pro hockey after I graduate, there's now a legitimate path to be able to do that domestically here, right? And I think to me that's exciting. It's exciting for us as coaches to be able to develop them and get them to a point where they feel prepared for that, but also for the opportunity for athletes in our league just in general to play a best on best format, right? The best players in the world are playing in that environment, and it's something that you want to watch, you want to be a part of, you want to see it. Athletes want to be a part of it, so it's something to strive for. So just for our game in general, it's going to be awesome. And I think our athletes are excited to be able to see it. I know they're watching the draft and seeing how exciting that is. So I think our first-year players and some of our younger players are definitely excited to take part in that as they move forward.
Great. Dominique, any questions? No? Might be audio issues. I've had a couple people have issues with their audio today. All right. That's all I have from my end. And Coach, I appreciate you taking some time today to jump on and talk about your team. We look forward to seeing you in action at St. Cloud and some big non-conference matchups this weekend.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. All right, our next coach joining us from Cornell in Ithaca, New York is Doug Dara. Coach, thanks for jumping on this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming in and getting ready for the season. Preseason poll from the league comes out, and Cornell fourth in the poll, and it was a pretty tight 3 through 5 there, separated by 4 total points, receiving a first-place vote, and then also being ranked in the USCHO poll that came out yesterday, the national rankings. So I know all the coaches always say the rankings of the polls don't mean anything, but as you head into a season with nothing else to go on, is it at least reassuring that, what we see in our program, others see as well?
Yeah, I've been coaching here for 18 years now, and I've seen these polls go a lot of different directions in our favor and against us and ending up in different spots. But I think that the one thing that you just mentioned of it being really tight between, certain numbers, I think that's a testament to how strong this league has gotten over the last 10 years. I believe it's the best it's ever been and the most competitive it's ever been. So I think you're going to see a lot of fluctuation from what you see in those polls, just because the competitiveness is so high. I would say that, maybe 18 years ago when I started, there was a big differential maybe between that first place team and last place team, but it's not that way anymore. And if you're not ready in the ECAC, you're going to get beat. And so it makes it really exciting and at times difficult for us coaches.
Yeah, and you can see a ranked team come in literally every night at this point in your league, or every weekend is probably not the best thing, but it also, like everyone says, it gives you a lot of competition and puts you right where you belong, at the end of the year. A
lot of fun.
Yeah, and as you look at the preseason poll, it also came with the preseason all league, and you had Rory Gilday, defender, 4-year program, selected there. How important is she of a piece to your program, which is probably the understatement of the century, but what does a player like that do in the locker room and just having, that quality of a player around?
Yeah, Rory's just grown so much in her first 2 years here at Cornell. Now a world champion after beating Canada last year for the gold. And so just had a lot of great experiences, both with Team USA and in the NCAA, and is a rock back there for us, and real strong physically and real dangerous when she gets opportunities to shoot the puck.
And from your, I guess not the roster perspective, but the team perspective, some new press and promo came out a couple of weeks ago with adding last names to the back of the jerseys, which may seem minor to some people, but it was taken pretty widely on social media. Pretty cool. Did you have anything to do with the creative design behind the waterfall and the video that went out on that?
No, I had nothing to do with it. I'm not on social media and not on Instagram or any of those social media platforms. So I'm usually the last to find these things out, including the coaches poll. I had to find out from somebody outside of our league to know where we were. But we have some students here that really help us with that, and they had this idea. And you know, Ithaca is known for its gorges, and Cornell is known for ice hockey, and we thought, okay, maybe we can combine the two and make sort of a cool video here. And yeah, and with the fact that we were putting the names back on the jerseys, made for a good little montage there.
Yeah, it came together really well. And shifting gears a little bit, talking about the PWHL draft yesterday and the professional opportunities for women and girls all around, the world, to now see that there's this official league that they can be a part of. 29 league alums drafted, including a few from your program. What was that like as a coach, who's been in the league for a while, to have so many players come through and now see them having this opportunity on such a big stage?
Yeah, it was an amazing day, an incredible day for women's hockey and women's sport in general. And we have some of our older, I wouldn't say older alumni, but some of the alumni like Rebecca Johnson and Brianne Jenner and Jill Saulnay, that, Lorianne Rougeau, Laura Fortino, some of the older alumni, I guess, with Team Canada. And, they've been working really hard behind the scenes with their players union to get this off the ground. And so I'm especially happy for them, because they've sacrificed a lot to get this league started and get it going, and to see it get off the ground now and in such fine form. It's really exciting for everybody, and a great opportunity now for the younger generation. So they put a lot of work in to give back to our sport, and it's great.
And as you turn the attention back to your current team and this year, a couple exhibition games to get started, and then 2 home games against Penn State in the middle of October. Starting a little bit later, obviously, with the Ivy schedule, how much did that give you an advantage to really get yourselves to a point that when you get into that series against Penn State, you know exactly who you are, where you want to go, and can come out firing in those games?
Yeah, it's really helpful. We've gone into so many seasons where by the time we play our first games, the other teams have already played 6 to 8 games. And so now to be able to start a little bit earlier, both in our practices and to get our exhibition games in, is going to be a huge help for our teams. And just from a physical standpoint for our players too. You can train all you want in the summer, and you can do all the skating and skills and everything else in the summer, but until you get to college and you're actually in that environment, that training environment, that practice environment, and getting some games under your belt, it's a whole different scene. And so it's been a great change for the Ivies.
You spoke about Gilday briefly, but could you just talk a little bit about your leadership group as a whole and what they bring to your team?
Yeah, I mean, Izzy Daniel, I think she's one of the top forwards in the league and maybe in the country. Real stoic, real competitor, tremendous speed, but a great person, both, in our locker room and on the ice, and just really brings what we're looking for as a senior leader this year. And then our 2 juniors, and Ashley Mestier and Rory Gilday. We talked a little bit about Rory, but Ashley Mestier is just somebody that's going to do whatever it takes. And so it really brings that compete to all of our practices and raises the level of everybody around her. And that's what we're obviously looking for from your leadership.
Great. That's all I have on my end. Coach, thanks for joining us today and taking some time to talk about your program. We look forward to watching you as you take the ice in a few weeks for exhibition play.
Thanks a lot, Nick. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, our next coach in the ECAC Women's Hockey Preseason Media Coaches Call is Matt DeRogers from Clarkson University. And Coach, with a big day yesterday in the professional draft and a big outlook on the preseason, it's going to be an exciting time to be the coach at Clarkson.
Yeah, everything's good. Can't complain. We're just gearing up to get going here on this weekend against Merrimack. So I think everyone's just excited to get this season rolling. It's been obviously a long preseason and summer. So, once everyone gets back on campus, they're just kind of itching to get to the games and that. So we're excited with the team that we have right now, and everything's looking pretty positive within practices and everything. So, like I said, we're just gearing up for the weekend.
ECAC hockey preseason poll was released last week, and you were selected 5th by the coaches, but in a situation where 2 through 5 was separated by 9 total points. So obviously a testament to just how competitive the league is. I know you don't look at the numbers too much in terms of where you're selected, but what does that tight group at the top really represent for you?
Yeah, we talk about it as a coaching body within the ECAC. Like we feel strongly that we have the deepest and strongest league in the country, and to have 5 teams that close within the votes and everything, and then even to have those 5 teams within the preseason top 10 nationally as well, just kind of goes to show the depth that we have within this league.
Yeah, we say it every year, but you could be 6th or 7th in the preseason poll and be nationally ranked. It's just is a wild combination of things to know, but it's become pretty standard across the league. On the preseason all-league side, Haley Wynn, a defender, selected to that group, and obviously only choosing 6 players total or 7 from this league is almost impossible, but to have her selected has got to be a great honor for your group.
Yeah, it is. And that's the big thing too. Like there's so many good players within this league. So for anyone to get recognized, within the ECAC, that's a pretty big honor. And, Haley's definitely deserving of it. She puts in the work. Not sure if I've ever seen anyone come through our program that puts in as much time and effort that she does, to kind of perfect her craft, so to say. And in her getting that opportunity with the national program last season, and within this summer as well, has really helped with like her confidence and just allowed her game to grow even more.
And shifting a little bit to look at your schedule, you spoke about Merrimack, which is now 2 home games this weekend to open things up, and then going Boston College at home. So two weekends right off the top in non-league play. To see those teams coming in, does it give you a good test of where you're at, before you get into our league?
Yeah, certainly. That's always the goal with your non-league schedules to, try and play some teams, within their leagues that are going to be able to, compete for the top spots within their league or even push those teams. So, when we're kind of looking to schedule those teams, we're trying to bring in teams that are going to compete, that are going to push us to be at our best and prepare us for when we get into league play. Because we know once league play comes, every night's a battle for sure. So, having those teams come in, we're pretty excited about. We haven't seen them, in a few years in that. So it'll be nice to play some different teams right off the bat here. But obviously, we're just looking to get off to a pretty good start.
And 2 other special events I want to hit on your schedule. One is celebrating the 2014 national championship in your game against Princeton in late October, and then also playing a youth game, which we haven't seen a ton of, recently, but to have a youth game at 11 a.m. against St. Lawrence and bring in the local area kids, what is that going to be like for your group?
Yeah, so to start off, it's the 10-year anniversary of our first national championship in 2014. So, we're looking to bring our alums back, bring that team back to kind of celebrate that moment in our team's history. And, obviously that's something that's pretty special to us, and that group's pretty special to our program. So just being able to kind of honor them and what they were able to do for us, the ECAC, just kind of change the landscape of hockey, I think, a little bit, on the women's college side. Just allowing other programs to feel like they have an opportunity, they have a chance to kind of win a national championship. I had a lot of coaches come up and say that after we won in 2014. So, it was just a pretty special time that we want to kind of honor. And then, Coach Wells and I at St. Lawrence have been kind of throwing around the idea of a kids game. They had the World University Games up here last year, and they did a kids game during that time, and there was a pretty good crowd that came in. So, you know, when I was playing pro, we did a couple of those, and those games were always fun. It's just kind of chaos, to be honest with you. It's just kids yelling and screaming the entire game. There's a ton of energy in that. You know, both schools up here, you know, both Clarkson and St. Lawrence, we get a lot of the local community coming out to support us and that. So, you know, a big market for us is the youth up in this area. So we wanted to try and do something to kind of bring those kids in and those fans in and show them a good time. So we're excited about it. I know we already have a ton of tickets sold for that game. So it'll be pretty interesting to see, you know, what that kind of game looks like once we get upon it.
And lastly, about your team, I want to give you an opportunity to just speak about your roster. A lot of returning players and a lot of names. You can scroll through the roster on the website and names that anyone would recognize from being around the league. Some that have made recent impacts on the international stage as well. How excited are you for this group to hit the ice?
Yeah, like you said, we got a lot of returning players, and the group that we have coming in, you know, the incomers with the freshmen and the transfers, we're really excited about them too. We're even more excited after we've been able to get on the ice with them. You know, it just the depth of our team, I think, is starting to show a little bit. The way that they're competing against each other in practice is really encouraging for us as well. And like you said, we have some of those top returning players that, you know, have that national team experience that are kind of bringing that experience back to our team. Even just this past week, we had those 3 players that were at the Canadian national team camp. So just bringing them back, having them get that experience, you know, it really allows the team to kind of feed off of them too once they get back. So, like I said, we're excited about what we have this year and the depth that we have on our team, and we're really excited about, you know, where we're at right now and where we're headed.
And the last question for you shifts gears towards the PWHL draft that happened yesterday, and it looked like at the beginning it was just going to be every player that ever played for Clarkson was going to get picked by somebody. We're watching everything come through, and 29 players drafted from the league overall, and 9 players from, or yeah, I think 9 players. It was 8 or 9. I apologize for not having the number, but it was a lot from Clarkson that were drafted. You may know the number better. As someone who's coached all of these players and has won national championship for these players, how great is it to see this opportunity and to see what that day was for the sport?
Yeah, it was really exciting. You know, obviously we're all trying to build and grow the game, women's hockey here, and I think that was a pretty good step in the right direction there, having that draft. You know, just seeing our players and how excited they were about it. You know, we had it on in our office, they had it on in the players' lounge. They were excited to watch those Clarkson players get drafted, and you know, we were excited too, just to kind of, again, you kind of get the jitters about, okay, where are you seeing certain players that you know, getting drafted, and you know, we were really excited to see those 3 Clarkson players end up in the first round there. So basically half the first round was Clarkson players, and they all came back to back to back. So it was really exciting for us to kind of watch and watch them kind of walk up on stage, and we know it's something that they've worked hard for, not only on the ice but off the ice too, to kind of make this happen. You know, they're all pretty prominent players out there, and they've had a hand in kind of building, you know, women's hockey to where it is and where it's going. So it was really excited to kind of see this stuff come to fruition a little bit from that standpoint. And then, you know, for us as a program, we're just really proud of those players and, you know, what they've been able to do, not only for us at Clarkson and, you know, winning multiple national championships, but what they've been able to go on and do, you know, on the national team level, you know, wherever they've kind of played, they've made an impact. So we hope that, you know, we played a little bit of a part in that. And like I said, it was really exciting to kind of see the players, excitement around, you know, Clarkson alums getting drafted and where they're getting drafted to and what position. So again, just all around exciting time.
Great. We're excited to see that league take off and all of our alums in there, and then also to see our league start this week. And big weekends coming up for you and your team. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it as always.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, our next coach on the ECAC women's hockey preseason media call is Mark Bolding from Yale, joining us from New Haven. Coach, thanks for jumping on today.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, no problem. Excited to get the season moving, and thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Coach, your team picked second in the preseason poll, and I always preface it by saying I know the coaches just don't really care where they end up in the preseason poll, but the biggest thing to look at is how tight that top 5 in the poll was in terms of points and being selected. Start off today by talking a little bit for us about what the league has become and just the monster that it is of every weekend seeing a top 10 or a top 15 opponent.
Yeah, I mean, the polls are opinions from other coaches, and we've got a great group of coaches in this conference, and I think anytime you can get into any poll with one hand, that's a pretty good feeling, and it just means that you're doing something right as a program, and credit to the players to take it to that level. And we also then realize how quickly in the ECAC that doesn't really mean much. There's a lot of great teams with some tremendous players that are going to make it a challenge night in and night out. So the points will be tough to come by. Every night will be a grind, and I think that's what makes our conference so much fun and so competitive, and just very, very meaningful. So we're pretty proud of it. And then you look bigger picture nationally, we're pretty confident that many teams in the ECAC can knock on the door and make the challenge at the end of the year. But a lot of hockey to play, and we'll just go through each other and learn from each other too. And that's the other thing. When you play against good programs and good coaches, you can learn a lot. So we don't have that opportunity to, that's your biggest test, is learning from the opponents that you play. And that's a bulk of our work. So I like it. We've got quality players, quality coaches who are, can really push you. So that's good for us.
And following the preseason poll was the all league team. El Harchi and Pia Ducaris selected to that roster as well. And as you talk about how competitive the league is, almost impossible to choose 6-7 players to represent that team, but to have 2 of your student athletes on it has got to do something to at least boost their confidence into the year and give them that expectation of what they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, every team's going to have their go-to players, and you're fortunate if one of them's a goaltender. That means you've really got you're in a position to do something with that. Pia's been very consistent and hardworking. We knew that, but nice to see her get it done in the league and the conference, and we're expecting big things from her in the next 2 years. Before her time expires, we need her to be fantastic and also slowly mentor other goalies. She'll get a bulk of the time. I think we all know that, but she's got to help the others get to the next level when she moves on. But for now, we're looking for her to be consistent, smart, and just play her style of play, and keep us in and help us win games. With Harchi, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, no, go ahead. That's all right.
No, I think I was just going to add with Harchi. I mean, hard for any coach to have your seniors elevate and now be right there. This is it, one last year, and I think every year Elle has remarkably improved as a player, in many categories, and now she's actually our captain. So that's a great testament to putting in the work. Elle puts in the work, and she's a hockey player through and through. So she's going to be counted on again, relied on heavily, and you always have that when you have a dynamic centerman. She'll be important, and we're looking forward to seeing her perform. And stats aside, she drives our ship. So we're excited for Elle's senior year.
And turning the page over to the schedule and looking through, obviously, the gauntlet that is the league play, but have a couple big matchups in the middle of the year, going to Penn State for 2 games at the end of the first half, and then coming back almost a month later with a home game against Northeastern in a rematch of the NCAA tournament. And that's got to be circled on your calendar for a plethora of reasons, but great to see, a big non-league opponent on that schedule.
Yeah, definitely. Going back to Penn State will be meaningful as well. We were there a couple of years ago, and in our first Frozen Four trip. That was a lot of fun and kind of a whirlwind experience. So hopefully we'll be able to get in there and play a real tough opponent with some great players, great depth, and in a fantastic college rink. So we're looking forward to that trip. And we've heard, they might be studying on the bus, but I think when the puck drops, they'll all be having fun, and it'll be a really quality weekend. So we're thankful to go there for two big games. And then Northeastern will be a great one. Got to play them here and didn't get the result, but we'll get them back here. And, the good news is that's two more games. The following year we'll go to Northeastern. So you have to be able to challenge yourself when you get the opportunity to play other programs that are elite. And certainly Northeastern has been nothing short of, hanging banners and being really the Hockey East juggernaut. So we want to see if we can make it miserable for them on January 2nd here.
And going towards your roster, I know you spoke about Pia and Elle, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to hit on, the group that you have and talk a little bit about what's coming in, what's coming back, and really where you see the shine coming through for you.
Yeah, we'll have one other senior aligned with Elle, Kirsten Goody, and Kirsten is just fantastic. She works her tail off, and she's a depth player, and she works tirelessly and had a good finish for us. So she'll be counted on to pull the weight with them. And then we've got a giant junior class that's very impactful. We think Bargman's a great hockey player. Got some tremendous defensemen that all came in together. Vita, Mooner, we've got some good ones that came in all together there. DeCorby's a meat and potatoes defenseman for sure. Tiana came in, Miskovich, and we just a lot of depth on the back end for us. And they play Korfmacher. Hopefully can get in the mix this year. So you're gonna have impact with a goaltender and good defenseman. So starting there, I think we feel pretty good. Plus some young ones that we've added from last year, Gilkison and Borjarski. So those will be defensemen that'll contend, and a few new ones on the blue line to help. So we're excited up front. Like I said, I mentioned, I go to Bargman. I think she's underrated. She's a great hockey player. She's a threat every night. Not sure who she'll play with, but then we kind of slide into some more depth players in the junior class. We're kind of excited to see what they can do offensively, but just kind of pop off the page. Harvey works so hard, and Ryder's right on the edge of popping off and going in the right direction offensively. And Anya Trumer's a great. So we do have some depth in the junior class up front. I think where we made an impact last year was, we're looking for D'Antonio, who played in our top six, to push offensively. She's a small player, but she's pretty crafty, pretty skilled, and she really has a good IQ for the game. And I'm not sure there's been more of an impactful freshman, arguably one of the top in the nation, with Jordan Ray. She can go. She's got great speed, great creativity, and she's still figuring it out. So we're excited to see what she can do this year. And just, again, some other freshmen that we think will make an impact. We'll see how they do. Maria Ralph, we hope will make an impact, and Steph Stainton, and Susie Higuchi will be an interesting player from Minnesota. We hope will make an impact. So without naming everybody on the roster, I think what has happened in our group is the depth has been important. And stats aside, depth means, the locker room's cohesive and they work hard. So hopefully we can play fast and try and live up to expectations. But we're learning as we go. We're in most games, and now we need to figure out how to win the real big ones, and great test through the ECAC.
That's what happens when you ask a coach of a good team to talk about his players, right? Let me take the roster and talk about every single one, because everyone has an impact, but that's a pretty good problem to have, I think.
Yeah, and talk about our depth. We added Boucher last year as a freshman, and she's under the radar as well. So again, what's fun about college sports is you get to see every year new kids go to another level. And whether that's in the locker room or in the weight room and certainly on the ice, we hope that it's all three. But it's just it's a fun development to be a coach. That's why we coach. It's great to see your kids grow up and hopefully make an impact.
Well, and you gave me a perfect segue by saying another level, because the last question I have is speaking about going to another level through the PWHL draft. And you had Claire Dalton, who was your leader last year, and I had the pleasure to hand her the regular season championship trophy on the ice in your building. Seeing her get drafted in the PWHL draft yesterday, from that individual perspective, tell us about kind of that moment for you and your team. I think I saw on social media, I think she was on FaceTime with the girls on the ice yesterday during practice from the draft. So what was that moment like in your program?
Yeah, the girls were watching in the lounge, thinking that it might happen, but Claire, being as humble as she is, she said she didn't really want to go because she didn't want to embarrass herself if she didn't get selected. And that's just how humble she is and genuine. But she was at home and we were on the ice, and then I think one of our injured players told us that she was drafted. So Elle quickly got the phone right when we finished up practice and got a hold of her. So really nice. I mean, what a great moment for all the women that have blazed the trails and really hammered away at staying. They've been pros for a while. There's just been no compensation and awkward structure right throughout the years. And other than the national teams that have the definitive structure, and really important to see Claire get picked. And she is a quality player. So we're happy. My 13-year-old already said we got to go and get some poutine and be in a great city to watch Claire play hockey and at some point. So all the players and coaches, we were super proud of her. Just a great kid. And we might have had more, but Sites went to Europe, and Charlotte took a job. But we've had some good players the last couple of years, so we're really nice to see Claire be selected and excited for her.
Great. Mark Boulding, head coach of the Yale Bulldogs, picked second in the preseason poll and looking to continue their success as the regular season champs last season and hopefully take it into the postseason. Mark, thanks for joining us. We appreciate your time as always.
All right. Thank you so much. See you later.
All right.